If traffic signals at an intersection are not functioning due to a power outage. A. Park your vehicle as far off the road as possible and wait for power to be restored. B. Use hand signals to indicate your intentions to other drivers. C. Turn on your hazard lights and proceed through the intersection without stopping. D. Treat the intersection as a four-way stop. D. Treat the intersection as a four-way stop. If a traffic light at an intersection is not functioning due to a power outage, yield to other drivers in the same manner as you would when approaching a four-way stop. When it is your turn, proceed through the intersection with caution. Defensive driving is A. Identifying dangerous driving situations and taking action to avoid accidents. B. Defending yourself against poor drivers by getting ahead of them in traffic. C. Following the vehicle ahead of you at a close distance. D. Quickly changing lanes and shifting in and out of traffic congestion. A. Identifying dangerous driving situations and taking action to avoid accidents. You drive defensively when you identify dangerous driving situations and take action before an accident occurs. Defensive driving helps prevent conflicts with aggressive, offensive, discourteous, careless, inattentive, impulsive, ignorant, or intoxicated drivers or pedestrians. Drivers are not required to yield to pedestrians in a crosswalk. A. True. B. False. B. False. A driver must come to a complete stop and yield when a pedestrian is in a marked crosswalk. A driver must also yield to a pedestrian who is in an unmarked crosswalk on the driver's side of the roadway when there are no traffic control signals. This sign means A. Do not enter. B. Yield the right of way. C. Reserved parking for persons with disabilities. A. Do not enter. This sign is posted on one-way streets and other roadways where a driver is not allowed to enter. A driver may see this sign if attempting to enter an expressway ramp in the wrong direction.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
Double solid yellow lines painted down the middle of the road mean A. Railroad crossing ahead. B. Pedestrian crossing ahead. C. Passing is not permitted from either direction. D. Passing is permitted from either direction. C. Passing is not permitted from either direction. Double solid yellow lines in the center of the road mean that passing is not allowed from either direction. You may not cross the lines unless you are making a left turn or passing pedestrians, bicyclists, and riders of scooters or skateboards when the opposite lane is clear and you can pass safely. When stopped at a red traffic light with a green arrow, you may proceed in the direction of the arrow if you A. First come to a complete stop. B. Wait until the light changes. C. Are in the proper lane and the intersection is clear. When meeting a car with blinding headlights, you should A. Use your bright lights until the other vehicle dims theirs. B. Flash your lights on and off to warn the other driver. C. Dim your lights and then speed up to pass quickly. D. Look toward the right side of the road. D. Look toward the right side of the road. If a vehicle comes toward you with its high beams on, look away from the headlights and toward the right side of the road until the car has passed. This will keep you from being blinded. How can you help prevent rear-end collisions? A. Avoid sudden stops. B. Before stopping, check your mirrors and blind spots for traffic. C. Release the gas pedal and let your vehicle slow before applying the brakes. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Stopping suddenly can make it difficult for drivers behind you to avoid a rear-end collision. When stopping, release the accelerator to allow your vehicle to slow. Press the brake pedal by applying steady pressure, activating your brake lights and causing the vehicle to stop smoothly. The best way to avoid hydroplaning is to A. Keep your tires properly maintained. B. Slow down when roads are wet or slushy. C. Watch out for standing water or puddles. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. When roads are wet, cars take a longer distance to stop and may skid on quick turns. Do not use cruise control when driving under wet or icy conditions. Reduce your speed and drive with caution. Using a cell phone while operating a motor vehicle is considered a distraction because A. It causes the driver to be concerned about the cost of the call. B. It occupies the driver's hands, eyes, and mind. C. It is an activity that draws the attention of other drivers. B. It occupies the driver's hands, eyes, and mind. Using a cell phone while driving is dangerous because it occupies the user's eyes, hands, and mind. Even the most skilled drivers increase their risk of being involved in a crash by using a cell phone on the road. If an aggressive driver cuts you off, you should A. Call the police immediately. B. Stay calm and move out of the aggressive driver's way. C. Flash your vehicle's lights to let the aggressive driver know he is wrong. D. Use a driving action of your own to get back at the aggressive driver. B. Stay calm and move out of the aggressive driver's way. If an aggressive driver cuts you off on the roadway, stay calm and get out of their way. Trying to get even with an aggressive driver risks escalating the situation and increasing the danger. This sign means A. Pedestrian crossing. B. Side road. C. Railroad ahead. A. Pedestrian crossing. This sign indicates that there is a pedestrian crosswalk. What kinds of drugs can affect your driving ability? A. Allergy medicine. B. Marijuana. C. Cold remedies. D. All of these choices. D. All of these choices. Many kinds of drugs can impair your ability to drive. This includes illegal drugs and legal prescription or over-the-counter medications. It can be a criminal offense to drive while impaired by any drug. Solid lines separating lanes of traffic indicate a no passing zone. A. True. B. False. A. True. Solid lines are used to indicate areas where it is not safe to pass. Dashed lines are used to indicate areas where drivers may pass, if it is safe to do so. At night, it is hardest to see. A. Road signs. B. Pedestrians. C. Other motorists. D. Street lights. B. Pedestrians. Compared to signs and other roadside objects, pedestrians are hardest to see at night. When driving in traffic, it is safest to A. Fluctuate your speed to keep alert. B. Drive faster than the flow of traffic. C. Drive slower than the flow of traffic. D. Drive with the flow of traffic. D. Drive with the flow of traffic. Crashes often happen when some drivers go faster or slower than other vehicles on the road. Always try to drive with the flow of traffic, within the posted speed limit. When you see an emergency vehicle approaching while using its flashing lights, you must A. Maintain your speed and stay in your lane until the vehicle has passed. B. Move into the right lane and drive slowly until the vehicle has passed. C. Pull over to the curb or edge of the road and stop until the vehicle has passed. C. Pull over to the curb or edge of the road and stop until the vehicle has passed. If you see an emergency vehicle approaching while using its flashing lights, pull over to the right edge of the road and stop. Position yourself parallel to the curb. On one-way streets, drive toward the road edge nearest you. You should not attempt to drive next to a large truck in a roundabout. A. True. B. False. A. True. Large trucks can take up multiple lanes as they maneuver through a roundabout. Other drivers should not try to drive next to a large truck while within a roundabout. When driving on slippery roads, you should A. Use alternate routes. B. Drive as you would on dry roads. C. Increase your following distance. D. Avoid crossing bridges or intersections. C. Increase your following distance. On slippery roads, you should increase your following distance. It may take more time to stop your vehicle than it would under normal conditions. At a crosswalk, A. You must yield to pedestrians. B. Pedestrians must yield to you. C. Construction workers must yield to you. A. You must yield to pedestrians. Pedestrians have the right of way at street crossings but must obey traffic control signals. Where a traffic signal is not present, vehicles must stop for pedestrians in a crosswalk, whether it is marked or unmarked. This is a fill in the blank sign. A. Stop. B. Wrong way. C. Yield. D. Do not enter. C. Yield. This triangular sign is a yield sign. When you see this sign, you must slow down to check for traffic and yield the right of way to pedestrians and approaching cross traffic. Stop only if it is necessary to do so. If you park facing uphill on a street with a curb, set the parking brake and A. Turn the front wheels toward the curb. B. Turn the front wheels away from the curb. C. Leave the front wheels straight. If weather or light conditions require you to have your lights on while driving, A. Use your parking lights. B. Use your high beams. C. Use your low beams. How can you prevent expressway hypnosis? A. Keep the interior of your car cool. B. Vary your speed slightly from time to time. C. Keep your eyes moving. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Boredom is common to motorists on long trips, leading to what is called expressway hypnosis. To avoid this, drivers should begin their trip as well rested as possible. They should regularly stop, even if they don't feel tired. They should keep their eyes scanning the road to avoid eye fatigue by staring in one place for too long. What does this road sign mean? A. Falling rocks. B. Trucks use second gear. C. Steep hill. C. Steep hill. Warning signs are usually yellow with black markings. This sign indicates that you are approaching a steep hill. Slow down and be ready to shift to a lower gear to control your speed and protect your brakes from damage. When should drivers use their turn signals? A. When changing lanes. B. When entering or exiting the freeway. C. When turning at an intersection. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Always signal before changing lanes, when entering or exiting the freeway, and when making a turn. Drivers around you can then react to your movements and a collision is less likely. A telltale sign of a drunk driver is: A. They are weaving between lanes. B. They are driving more slowly than the normal traffic flow. C. They are making quick and sudden stops. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Telltale signs of drunk driving include speeding, weaving, driving more slowly than the normal traffic flow, making jerking motions, and making quick and sudden stops. When a traffic signal light turns green, you should: A. Yield the right of way to pedestrians. B. Accelerate as quickly as possible. C. Back up slowly. D. Not move until another driver waves you on. A. Yield the right of way to pedestrians. A green light tells you that you can go through the intersection. However, you must first yield the right of way to traffic and pedestrians who are still in the intersection. When should drivers yield the right of way to pedestrians in a crosswalk? A. Only if the pedestrians first wave to the driver. B. Only if the pedestrians are not texting while walking. C. At all times. C. At all times. Bring your vehicle to a complete stop at a crosswalk to yield the right of way to any vehicle or pedestrian already in the intersection. You may carefully proceed if your lane is completely clear. It is illegal to follow within fill in the blank of an emergency vehicle that is sounding its alarm. A. 1 mile. B. 1,000 feet. C. 500 feet. C. 500 feet. Make room for ambulances, fire trucks, police cars, and other emergency vehicles that are using sirens and/or flashing lights. It is unlawful to follow within 500 feet of an emergency vehicle that is responding to an emergency. This sign means: A. Pedestrians only. B. Intersection ahead. C. Hiking trails ahead. D. School crossing ahead. D. School crossing ahead. This sign indicates that a school crossing is ahead. When should you drive in a lane underneath a lane use control signal displaying a red X? A. When there is no visible oncoming traffic. B. When you are passing the car in front of you. C. Never. D. Between sunset and sunrise. C. Never. Lane use control signals are used when the direction of the flow of traffic in a specific lane changes throughout the day. They are used to show which lanes of traffic are open and closed, as well as to show if toll booths are open or closed. Never drive in a lane controlled by a red X. Taking drugs along with alcohol. A. Increases the risk of causing a crash. B. Is no more dangerous than consuming alcohol by itself. C. Lessens the effect of alcohol on your ability to drive. D. Has no effect on your general driving ability. A. Increases the risk of causing a crash. Drugs, including illegal, prescription, and over-the-counter medications, can affect your brain function and impair your ability to drive safely. Combining alcohol with other drugs will increase the risk of a crash. If you come to an intersection controlled by a flashing yellow light, you must A. Wait for the green light before proceeding. B. Slow down and cross the intersection carefully. C. Stop before crossing the intersection. B. Slow down and cross the intersection carefully. A flashing yellow traffic light means drivers must slow down, be more aware, and proceed with caution. Be alert to crossing traffic and pedestrians. This sign means A. Roundabout ahead. B. Lane ends, merge left. C. Turn around. D. Curve ahead. A. Roundabout ahead. This sign indicates that a roundabout is ahead. Enter a roundabout at a low speed and yield to existing traffic. To pass on a two-lane road, you should A. Sound your horn as you pass. B. Flash your headlights as you pass. C. Judge the distance to any oncoming vehicles. C. Judge the distance to any oncoming vehicles. It can be hard to judge the speed of oncoming vehicles. They do not always seem to be coming as fast as they really are. Always be sure you can safely change lanes when passing on a two-lane street. If you are not sure of an oncoming vehicle's speed, wait to pass until the oncoming vehicle has passed and you are sure there is enough space for you to change lanes safely. This sign means A. All traffic must turn left. B. No left turn. C. No U-turn. D. Truck route to the left. B. No left turn. This sign indicates that left turns are prohibited. If you are wearing both a lap belt and shoulder strap during a collision, your chances of survival are increased 3 to 4 times. A. True. B. False. A. True. If you wear a lap belt during a collision, your chances of coming out of the collision alive are about twice as good as if you were not wearing the lap belt. If you are wearing both a lap belt and shoulder strap, your chances are 3 to 4 times as good. A solid yellow line next to a broken yellow line means that vehicles A. Driving in both directions may pass. B. Next to the broken line may pass. C. Next to the solid line may pass. B. Next to the broken line may pass. Yellow lines separate lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions. A broken yellow line next to your driving lane means that you may pass. Highway pavement will be particularly treacherous and most slippery. A. If it has been raining several hours. B. If it has just begun to rain. C. If it has been raining for 1 to 2 hours. B. if it has just begun to rain. Pavement is particularly treacherous when it first begins to rain. Accumulations of dirt and oil mix with the rainwater, creating a greasy film on the roadway. If you must park your vehicle in an area not usually used for parking. A. Park with your reverse lights on. B. Make sure your vehicle is visible to drivers approaching from any direction. C. Park 5 feet from the curb. B. Make sure your vehicle is visible to drivers approaching from any direction. Drivers are responsible for making sure their vehicles do not become hazards after they have been parked. Wherever you park, make sure your car is visible to drivers approaching from any direction. When merging onto the freeway, you should be driving A. At or near the speed of the freeway traffic. B. At the legal speed limit. C. More slowly than the freeway traffic. A. At or near the speed of the freeway traffic. You should enter a freeway at or near the speed of traffic, unless the speed of traffic exceeds the legal speed limit. Broken yellow lines are used on streets and highways to A. Indicate no passing zones. B. Separate lanes of traffic moving in the same direction. C. Separate lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions. C. Separate lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions. Yellow lines separate traffic moving in opposite directions. Dashed lines on the pavement indicate that passing is permitted when safe. Increase your following distance when driving behind a large vehicle. A. To better see around the sides of the vehicle. B. Because other drivers tend to pull behind large vehicles before trying to pass them. C. Because following too closely will get you caught in the vehicle's slipstream. A. To better see around the sides of the vehicle. Drivers of trucks, buses, vans, and any vehicles pulling campers or trailers may not be able to see you if you are driving directly behind them. Increase your following distance when driving behind one of these vehicles. Additionally, large vehicles can block your view of the road, so increase your following distance to look around the sides of the vehicle and see the road ahead. This road sign means A. Hunting area. B. State park. C. Deer crossing. D. Wildlife preserve. C. Deer crossing. This sign warns that deer cross the roadway in the area. You should slow down, be alert, and be ready to stop. When driving under snowy or icy conditions, it is safe to use your cruise control as long as your speed is reduced. A. True. B. False. B. False. You should not use cruise control when driving on snowy or icy roads. Your tires may lose contact with the road and you will no longer have control of your vehicle. If an approaching train is near enough or going fast enough to be a danger, you must A. Slow down and proceed with caution. B. Not cross the tracks until the train has completely passed. C. Cross the tracks at your own risk. D. Find an alternative route across tracks. B. Not cross the tracks until the train has completely passed. You should look and listen for trains before crossing any railroad tracks. If an approaching train is near enough or going fast enough to be a danger, you cannot go across the tracks. This is true even if they have no signals or the signals are not working. Smoking and preparing to smoke while driving. A. Do not affect driving abilities. B. Help maintain driver alertness. C. Are distracting activities. D. Are not distracting activities. C. Are distracting activities. Smoking while driving can create dangerous distractions by causing you to take your hands off the wheel and/or your eyes off the road. When entering the interstate, check for a gap in traffic in the nearest lane, adjust your speed to match traffic, signal, and A. Expect traffic to allow you to proceed into the lane, since you have the right of way. B. Merge carefully into the gap. C. Wait for the lane to clear before merging. B. Merge carefully into the gap. Before merging into interstate traffic, you should identify a gap, accelerate to the speed of traffic, and signal. Merge into the gap when it is safe to do so. Be alert to other traffic and do not expect other drivers to clear the lane. Drinking alcohol and driving is A. A minor traffic safety problem. B. A serious traffic safety problem. C. Safe if you have only had a few drinks. D. Only dangerous to the driver who drinks. B. A serious traffic safety problem. Driving while impaired or intoxicated is a serious traffic safety problem. Safe driving is not possible when you drink alcohol or take other drugs. Driving under the influence is dangerous both to you and to others on the road. Motorcycles, scooters, and mopeds are not easy to see. Therefore, you should A. Slow down when driving. B. Make constant visual checks. C. Share a lane with a motorcycle. You must yield to a pedestrian using a white cane or guide dog. A. Only when the guide dog is leading the person across the street. B. At all times. C. Only if a crossing guard is present. Refusing to take a chemical test when requested to do so by law enforcement. A. Is your right and will have no negative consequences. B. Will result in license suspension. C. Is recommended. D. Will just result in a fine. B. Will result in license suspension. When you operate a motor vehicle in Maine, you automatically consent to take an alcohol level test whenever requested to do so by law enforcement. You will not be forced to take such a test, but your driver license will be immediately suspended if you refuse. This sign means A. Trucks under 18,000 pounds are allowed. B. Hill ahead. C. Truck stop ahead. If your turn signals fail, you should use fill in the blank to indicate that you are turning. A. Your horn. B. Your headlights. C. Hand signals. D. Your emergency flashers. C. Hand signals. If your vehicle's turn signals do not work, you should use hand signals to indicate when you intend to change direction. This sign means A. Trucks only. B. Trucks are entering the highway. C. Upcoming hill. D. Trucks have the right of way. C. Upcoming hill. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped with black markings on a yellow background. They alert drivers to upcoming hazards. This sign indicates that drivers are approaching a steep hill and should prepare to adjust their speeds to continue to drive safely. Your brake lights tell other drivers that you A. are making a turn, B. have your emergency brake on, C. are changing lanes, D. are slowing down or stopping. D. are slowing down or stopping. Your vehicle's brake lights indicate to other drivers that you are slowing down or stopping. Your brake lights should always be in working order when you are driving on any roadway. If your car's suspension is bad, it can cause A. vehicle control problems, B. squealing brakes, C. slack in the steering. A. vehicle control problems. Your suspension helps you control your vehicle and provides a comfortable ride over varying road surfaces. If your vehicle bounces a lot after driving over a bump, or is generally hard to control, you may need new suspension parts.